All right, I think we're live. I think it's on. All right, guys. Before I get really too much into the parts list, I'll let a couple of you guys get on here. After the recent video that I just put out of me competing at the Bell Brawl on this Harley Davidson 1200 that I've kind of built along the way, I got so many questions on what am I running for gearing, what kind of handbrake do you have on it, how do you have this setup, is there a pickup mod for this type of motor as far as oil concerns go. So I plan to address all that in this video just because the sheer amount of volume of questions and comments and stuff like that I got, I realized too that I kind of had to troubleshoot a lot of these things as I was building this bike and had to make some educated guesses. So I hope in this video to inform you guys a little bit more about how my bike is set up, and I'll try to respond to the comments in the live along the way. But yeah, this is truly live. So if you guys do have any questions about the bike or about the 1200 stunting it, please do feel free to drop them in the comments there. I guess I'll start up front and kind of some of the more obvious things and go deeper into it. First and foremost, I think I'm one of the first guys to start running this Cox Stunt Parts cage up front, and it does protect pretty well. I've dropped it a couple times. You can see on the slider there's no damage to the peg or anything like that. It's on the slider there, and on the back subframe right back there as well, there's a little bit of scuffing. So the cage does a pretty good job at taking the impact on it, and it has 4 mount up points, 2 under here into the engine mount, and then 1 on either side back here that it bolts directly into the frame, the steel frame that comes stock on these Harleys. So that it's been good so far. I know it's one of the beefier styles. I know a lot of the Dyna guys just run them straight out and nothing up top. Whatever. This is the design that Matt Glasscock came up with. I dig it. It is what it is. And moving back here, I guess I'll just cover the big parts right away. Moving back here, the sub cage is built into the 12 bar. So that means this is all one piece from the peg all the way back, all the way back, all the way over there. So the 12 bar and sub cage are all one piece. It bolts into 4 places as well behind your peg right here, and 1 right there. And this has been okay so far. I haven't felt like too much flex when I come back and scrape or anything like that. I mean, it's kind of to be expected a little bit, but it's been good so far. It definitely heats up the titanium a lot more than the 636. I think it's because there's a lot more weight coming back the way I scrape. Like the 636, it barely folds over, so it doesn't heat up as much. But this back here, I mean, you can tell it heats up the way it curls over because it's got a lot more weight on it. So as far as that goes, it's been really nice. And as well, Cox Stunt Parts supplied the step plate. So you just drill 2 little, I think those are 1/4-inch holes or something like that, maybe 1/2-inch holes into the fender there. And here's your step plate, pretty easy, mounts up onto the back. That's pretty self-explanatory. Next up, this was definitely a comment I know was in the video a couple times, and that's what size shocks are you running on the back? These are, if you can see there, these are 13.5-inch Burley shocks. So I know they're not, Legends or Progressive or some of the other shocks that a lot of stunters run, but this is what I kind of chose to run on there. It's a little bit of a stiffer spring. It pops right up. It's pretty responsive to the amount of weight I have back there, but it's definitely a stiffer spring. So 13.5-inch Burleys on the back. I think they were like $300, something like that. So that is what it is. Gearing, here's another big one. I definitely think this is probably one of the more expensive things you can do to your Harley. Get done with the belt and throw on a chain. The chain is definitely an expensive upgrade. I think this was like $500 to be honest, or like $450, something like that. It's a 530 chain. It's a 60 tooth in the back, so that's pretty close to stock belt ratio. It's right around there, but I definitely did go like 2 or 3 down in the front. I think I'm running like a 20 in the front or something like that, but it's a 60 in the back, and yeah, it's definitely a big big sturdy chain, so that's not going to give me much problems. And what that did do, as soon as I put that on, like just released the drifting button. It was awesome. From the belt to the chain, like the power delivery to the rear wheel is so much more responsive and torquier. Yeah, I see you guys down in the comments. I hate belts too. I always say belts are for pants, not for bikes. But and I also just got a question about the gas tank, and that's something that I feel like I should cover as well because it's happened to me a couple times already, and that is it only holds a couple gallons, but this is not like a 636. I don't know if you can see from this angle. I'll get on the other side. Get on the other side, see where I'm going with this. There we go. That is your fuel pump. So if you notice anything about it, it's not in the back, it's right in the middle. So it's super, super, super important that you have this gas tank full when you're on a wheelie. If you don't, your bike shuts off mid-wheelie. It's super terrifying. It's not fun, you know, having a bike this heavy just drop right down and compress those forks. That I still do need to upgrade. That's one of the last things I'm looking to upgrade on this bike in the coming months here, is at least put inserts in it. If not, just do a whole Dyna front end or a sport bike front end on it. That would be cool. But back to the fuel pump. Super important you keep this gas tank full, or else it will cut out on you. The motor will really turn off, and it's absolutely terrifying. So that's the gas tank for you. Already covered the chain. I guess I'll go to the air filter, little stuff like that. You know, just stupid little Chinese stuff I picked up. That's probably the only thing that I didn't really hit anyone up about or have questions about. It's just one of them stupid little air filters, because this bike sat in a garage for years and years and years before I started stunting it. I did an oil change on it, whatever. That's pretty self-explanatory. The pipe is D&D. Feel like it doesn't do it justice unless I start it up. So I will start it up for you. It sounds a lot more like a sport bike now ever since I did it. I used to have the Vance and Hines just open ones, which I did not like much. This 2-to-1 pipe with a lot more back pressure in the back, this definitely helped with the low end. I was kind of expecting that because, you know, a motor that doesn't have back pressure in the exhaust is going to definitely lack in low end. So I'll turn it on for you. I haven't warmed it up or anything like that. Another thing that I really want to get rid of on this Harley is this security system. I'm going to, you know, have to get rid of that. It scares me, the little watch battery controls that this thing stays on or doesn't, you know. So turn her on. Still got the kill switch on it and everything. But yeah, it sounds a little bit more like a sport bike now, I think. Now, it still definitely sounds like a Harley, but it just doesn't sound like that insane, you know, roar of the open Vance and Hines. But I do like this D&D. Definitely super cool. What's another big thing that people were hitting me up about asking on this? The bars. Oh, I'll just get in the front end. There you go. I do not run 7/8 bars. A lot of guys were saying, are those 1-inch 7/8 or those 1-inch or 7/8. I went with the 1-inch. A lot of guys go with 7/8, which I 100% can see why. The only reason I went with 1-inch was to keep the dash. As stupid as that sounds, I like the bike kind of looking stock from a distance. It's still, you know, to us, to guys that understand what stunt bikes are, you know, this doesn't look, you know, like a stock bike. But to the average person with a dash on it still and, you know, stock paint job, stock, everything like that, this does look better. So in my opinion, I kept the 1-inch bars. I kept the 1-inch throttle. I just cut it down right here, gapped this out a little bit so I have a little bit more leverage for the front brake there. I definitely still need to get 2 rotors up front. That'll come when I do my front end on this. That's kind of the last big thing I want to do on this bike is the front end. But the throttle, everything's still 1-inch. Now, how did I get 1-inch clutch pull and handbrake for this? So RSC actually makes a 1-inch bar for Harleys now, a lever. He just started making it at the beginning of this year. I like it a lot. I ended up going with a 2-finger for this just because it gives you a little bit more leverage and it makes it a little bit easier of a pull. But man, for a Harley, this thing is like absolute butter. So it's awesome. The handbrake on this is a 16x18 Brembo. Brembo actually does make a 1-inch 1-inch master for Harleys in specific. I got that at the Six Shop. So I run a Motul 600 just like any other bike on there, and I definitely have to remind myself that I'm working with a Brembo now and not my Magura like on the, you know, 13 millimeter over here. Instead, I'm working with a lot more responsive handbrake that'll fling you really quick. So what else do we got? Of course, with the handbrake comes the line. I just ran the same exact line I do on the sport bike, an 80-inch one from, I believe, the Six Shop as well. Ran it back through here, under here, real clean, back to the other side, back over here to my bracket. Now my bracket is from Hohei Designs. Get that plate out of the way for you. Bracket is from Hohei Designs. I believe it was meant to run 0304 calipers, and those calipers on here. But I ended up going with the CBR 1000s because they mounted up same place. They have the same exact clearance and everything, and they just have a bit more pad and a bit more bite on them. So that's what I ended up doing. So this bracket is from Hohei, like I said. You pretty much have to run 2 4-pistons. I wanted to run a 2-piston for the foot, but now working with this, I think it's not as touchy as I thought it would be. I was pretty scared at first running a 4-piston on my foot brake, but I ended up loving it. Seems good. And the 4-piston on the hand is plenty. So it'll definitely still bring your heavy bike right back down. Hey, thanks, Martin. Still reading the comments, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to keep myself on track here and keep this video brief and to the point because I had so many questions and comments on the bike that I rode at the Brawl. So wanted to get into this for you, but this is definitely plenty of bite for this bike. You definitely probably don't need more, although I'm pretty sure they do make a kit with a larger rotor. And this rotor, stock rotor, is absolutely massive. I mean, for a sport bike to have a rotor that big in the back stock is unheard of. The sport bike rear rotors in the back are normally pretty small for weight reduction. But since it's a Sportster too, of course, it's on the left. I don't know if anyone notices that or not, but dynos are on, sport bike side, left chain drive. But this one, chain's on the right, rotor's on the left. So what else did I forget to cover about this thing? Oh, of course, the rims. What sprocket ratio should I run on my MT-09 stunt bike build? 45 rear. I mean, if you're riding streets, man, or lots or whatever, I always try to stick with 55, something like that. That's what I've always run on my street bikes in general. But back to the Harley, a little bit bigger ratio on them. Back to the Harley, the rims. The rims actually came off of a Dyna, and we had them powder coated out here, and I think they came out absolutely awesome. One of my buddies actually hooked them up for me, Brandon. Thanks a lot, man. They bolted up on the bike really easily, and I was really afraid that I was going to have to do like different spacers or anything like that. Actually, we're able to salvage the bearings out of the stock spoked rims and put them in here. So the spacing works out great. Everything seems great on them. They spin freely, so it seems great. So they bolted right up, and yeah, I've been pretty happy with it. So I was able to save a lot of the stock stuff on this bike, and I like it like that. Like I was saying, I like it to appear somewhat of a stock bike. I don't want it to be a full-on stunt build. However, I still do need a little bit better of a front end because that is definitely not enough clearance for me. Just that right there, it's pretty insane. Grom's good. Definitely just giving them all some love. Did some oil changes on them and stuff like that. So, all right, guys, I'm going to let you guys get out of here. I appreciate you tuning into the live. I hope I answered some of your guys' questions on the bike from the previous video. If you guys haven't checked out my previous video from me competing on the Brawl out in Sturgis, please do. And this is your boy, Brian636, your least favorite moto vlogger, signing out. I appreciate you guys for all tuning in. Peace.